Hi, this is Russell Stannard from teachertrainingvideos.com. I've had lots of questions recently about teaching online, and what I'm going to try and do is focus on some of the key questions that people are asking me and try to answer those questions as clearly as possible. And sometimes I'm actually going to show you technically the answer to the question. I'm going to deal with about 5 questions in this video. For those of you that don't know me, I have a big background in teaching online. I was previously a lecturer at the University of Westminster, and then after that at the University of Warwick for about 15 or 16 years. I've built many online courses in Moodle, in Blackboard, and I've even created some online courses in Edmodo. And I've been very, very lucky as well to have won a couple of prizes for the work I've done, mainly from the British Council. I received an award in technology and also from the Times Higher. So I've got a bit of experience in the area, 20 years. I hope it's going to be useful to you. I'm going to try and do 5 common themes that are coming up in the questions, do my best to try and answer them. And as always, if you like the video, please like it, please share it with other teachers. Any comments or questions, leave them in the area below. And if you really like my videos, then please follow me on my YouTube channel. Let's get started. So a lot of you are asking, how can you record your lessons? I have loads of videos about this on my YouTube channel. To record lessons, for example, if you want to record yourself talking over a PowerPoint, or perhaps going through a document, or talking over a table, or talking over a picture or something, whatever you want to do, what you really need to use is what we call screen capture or screencast technology. Now, there are many of these tools on the market. Teachers always criticize me because I don't suggest the free tools. I did used to suggest the free tools, but I've found that really when it comes to doing a recording and making sure it's good quality, it's actually worth spending a little bit of money. So a free tool would be something like Screencast-O-Matic. A cheap tool that I think is very good is one from TechSmith, which is called Snagit. And then at a higher level, TechSmith also make a product called Camtasia. Adobe Captivate is another one. So there's kind of a free tool, fairly reasonably priced tool at around $30, and then something that's going to probably cost you in the region of a couple of $100 or even more. Now, I'm making this video, for example, now using Camtasia, but I often make my videos using Snagit. All you need to do is open up your PowerPoint slide onto the screen, mark the area that you want to record, click the button, and you can record yourself, and then save that as a video and share it with your students. If you want to know more about those technologies, in the description below I will give you some links to some of the technologies that I work with. As I said, I'm particularly fond of Snagit. There are free tools, as I said, Screencast-O-Matic is a very good one, but that is the way to record your video. Now, the one thing, once you've done the video, you're going to need, how are you going to distribute it? Are you going to put it on YouTube? Are you going to put it onto your Edmodo or onto your Moodle course? You're going to need to think about, once you've made that learning material, how are you going to share it with your students? Now, the next question is about what we call lecture capture. So sometimes you just want to record a short PowerPoint presentation, maybe 10 minutes long, and that's fine using screen capture technology, the ones I've mentioned. If you want to record the whole lecture, you're going to need something more sophisticated, because you're going to need something that's really going to compress the video down. I don't work a lot in lecture capture anymore, but certainly there are tools around. There's one called Panopto, there's one called Echo 360, there's one, TechSmith do one called Relay. If I remember rightly, there's another one called MediaSite as well. I've just noted down here that I've seen presented as well. So those allow you to record a whole lecture. In other words, that could be 45, 50 minutes long. So lecture capture is different to screen capture. Screen capture is when you record something on the screen of your computer, and that's normally a lot shorter, talking through a PowerPoint slide or some slides, or talking over a picture. So we kind of distinguish between lecture capture, long videos, maybe 30 minutes longer, and screen capture, often for shorter videos that might be only 10, 12 minutes long. Now, a lot of people are asking me about how you teach live, how you do a webinar, how you do a live lesson, can we use Skype, those sorts of questions. You need to understand that you can use Skype for very basic delivery of a live lesson because it is possible to screen share in Skype. So you can have people connecting to your Skype, so have a multiple call with more than one person, and then you can share your screen and all of those people are going to see what's on your screen and be able to listen to you talking. But it's the interaction and the amount of variety that you can include in the Skype is kind of limited, particularly when you're with big groups. So then you need to start to look at a tool which some people call a virtual classroom, or some people call a webinar tool, that is for delivering a live session. Now, I've used many of these. Adobe Connect is probably one of the better ones. ClickMeeting, which is the one that I currently use, Zoom, WizIQ, Wimber. I've used many of them. Now, what are the advantages in having a paid tool over something like Skype? Well, one of the advantages is the amount of interactivity you can have with your students. So, for example, all your students can log in, and it's much easier to get more people to log in when you're doing using a webinar tool. The whole system is a lot easier. You simply share a link, the people click on the link, and then they come into your room. So it's much easier to get people in the first place. And then what you can normally do when you're using these webinar tools is that you can, for example, be doing a presentation and talking over some slides, and then you can jump to playing a video, and then you might jump to having some questions on the screen that you want the students to interact with, and then you might jump to the chat window, and then you might share some links. Now, you can do some of those things with Skype, but it's not as easy and you can't do as many. So it's the variety and the interactivity and the ease with which you can set up a webinar using one of these tools. For example, the other day I did a presentation in Poland using ClickMeeting. I had 350 people on that presentation. We were able to do that because we simply gave them a link and they clicked on the link and came straight into the room. They just had to write in their name, put in their email address, and then come into the room. Everyone comes into the room, and then I can start to do the presentation if I get them to come in 5 minutes before. So it's really worth looking at these tools. Zoom is a very reasonably priced one. I am very pleased with ClickMeeting. I like ClickMeeting a lot because I like the layout. I like the way it's organized and the way that I can jump between doing a presentation to then using an interactive whiteboard, and then suddenly jump into playing a video, and then I can even put some questions on the screen that I want the students to answer. So the big thing about live delivery is, yes, you can do it with something really cheap, in fact even do it for free, and it probably will work with small groups. But if you've got a bigger group, you need to think about a proper webinar tool like Zoom, like ClickMeeting, like Adobe Connect, and there are many more. These are normally known as virtual learning classrooms. And again, I'll put some links below to the one that I'm currently using, which is ClickMeeting, and also to Adobe Connect. Now, I don't have any videos at the moment on Zoom, but I do know that Zoom is quite a popular tool, and I have used it in the past as well. Just a super quick promo, just to mention, if you're looking for more free videos, please come to teachertrainingvideos.com. Lots of videos on things like using Moodle and using Edmodo and using Snagit, which I've just mentioned in this video. If you want to follow my work, then the best thing to do is to sign up to the newsletter. That way you get updated with all of the latest videos and blog posts and webinars and online courses. And of course, you can also follow me on my YouTube channel. And if you wanted me to either do a workshop or a presentation for your organization, then please contact me. And don't forget, I can do that online. I do quite a lot of training now online with either individuals or groups. Right, let's get back to the video. Now, I'm going to be very simplified when I explain this, and I'm sure I'm going to get criticized for it. But if we think about teaching and learning, there's kind of two basic things that are going on in the classroom. That is, we're delivering some teaching, we're explaining things or highlighting things, going through things. And then other periods, the students are kind of working on the material, maybe together, collaborating, sharing ideas, doing a project, doing a task. And hopefully, we're trying not to have too much time where the teacher is doing too much teaching, so that there's lots of time for the students to be on task and learning. Now that's a bit crude, I realise that, but if we kind of think of that in terms of online, then we can think of it in the same way. We've got this live part where we want the teacher to be kind of teaching, and we can either do that two ways. We can either do that live, and then we can use something like Skype or ClickMeeting or Zoom, or for example Adobe Connect, or we could record that and put it up online, so it's already pre-recorded. Again, it's still the teaching part, and then we could use lecture capture, or we could use screencast technology, screen capture. So that's the kind of live teaching part done. What about this other part then? How do we do that? Well, we normally do that through what we call a virtual learning environment. That is a place where our students can come together and they can collaborate and they can work and they can do things in groups, and we can put them in groups and give them questions to answer, etc. We can share content with them. So we kind of got these two parts. The live part, often done with what we call a virtual classroom, and then the online kind of students working together and doing tasks, etc., in a virtual learning environment. Now, virtual learning environments, there are masses of them. The famous ones, the ones that most people will know about, would be things like Moodle or Blackboard, maybe, for example, Edmodo, which is a kind of free one but works pretty well, Schoology, and yet there are many, many more of these tools that I've come across. Companies contact me often to say, oh, we've got a platform, blah, blah, blah. Canvas is another one that I've looked at. So we kind of think about teaching online, those two components, how we're going to deal with the live part, and then how we're going to organize our students so that they're collaborating and working together. Now, a lot of people misunderstand Moodle. Moodle is a great tool for big classes, or where you're doing an online course and you've got a lot of content and you want lots of interaction. It's almost like the Rolls-Royce of virtual learning environments. It has loads of tools. It has quiz tools and poll tools and wiki tools and discussion tools, etc. A much smaller version would be Edmodo or Schoology. And the other difference is that normally, if you're working with something like Moodle, then someone in administration will get the students to log in and become part of the course. When you work with Edmodo, you can do it as a teacher. You can create your own class, and then you share a link with the students, and then they can sign into your class, or you can give them a code and they can sign into your class. So I'm logged in at the moment into Edmodo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click here on classes, and I'm going to click on create a class, and then I'm just going to give this class a name. So I'm going to call this new online course 2020. I'm just going to write new online course, that will do, and then I'm going to click on a grade, and we'll put adult education, then we'll choose a subject, so we'll say creative arts, and we've got various subcategories. I'm going to click on create now, and that class is now immediately created. Now I can add students myself, okay, or I'm not going to bother with that in a moment because I'm going to show you another way. So I'm just going to simply close that down. There is my new class, and notice here that I've got a code. Now all I need to do is share that code with my students, and then my students can log into this class and they will become members of the group. Now another nice thing is, once everyone is logged in, it is possible for me to actually lock that class, and then nobody else can join. So it's a really effective way of quickly getting people into your class so that you can then start to share content with them. Once you've got members in, then you can post anything, and anything that you post, everyone will receive it, and you can give them videos and links to content from YouTube, and you can even make quizzes, etc. So I could click here and create a quiz or create an assignment. So Edmodo is a really quick way of getting online courses organized and get your students in. When we work with Moodle, which is also a great tool, and I love both of these tools, but when you work with Moodle, you don't normally do that. That's normally done by the central administration of your school or your institution. So that's a big difference between working with Edmodo and working with Moodle. And also, Edmodo does not have as many options, but there are some good options. You can create small groups as well, so you can have half the class in group A and half in group B, and then you can give certain material to group A and certain material to group B. You can create, as I said before, you can create quizzes and you can create assignments for your students to do. You can give them discussion questions. You can share videos with them. You can create folders. So you can do a number of things. But when you work with Moodle, you can do many more. Let's have a quick look at Moodle. Now, I've just come into one of my Moodle classes. I'm going to turn the editor on, and I'm just going to kind of give you a quick idea of the number of options that you've got in terms of the content. By clicking here, we can actually click on add a resource or an activity, and you'll notice, see, that you have many more tools, and they're broken up into activities and then resources. So you've got lots of different ways of organizing your content in books and in files and in folders and labels, but you've also got lots of different options in terms of creating forums and creating, you know, chat rooms and creating assignments and lessons and questionnaires and quizzes. So Moodle offers a lot more, but it's a lot more involved and obviously takes a lot longer to learn and to use effectively. Edmodo, you can often get up in half a day and be working with Edmodo quite confidently. Moodle does tend to take longer. I love both tools. It really depends on what you're trying to do. Now, a really important point related to the virtual learning environment, that is where the students are going to do their group work and pair work and quizzes, etc., is that normally when we work with Moodle, because it has a lot of tools, you don't normally need to use any other tools outside of the tools that are available within Moodle. You might link to some videos from YouTube or link to some PDF files or some web pages, but for all your discussions and quizzes and chat rooms and forums and wikis, etc., all of those tools exist within Moodle. And so you can, it's a kind of all-in-one. The whole idea is that Moodle can do everything for you. Now with Edmodo, that's different. So when people are asking me these questions, Russell, can I use Padlet for teaching online? Can I use Google Forms? The answer is no, they're not virtual learning environments. They're just tools that can contribute to making your course more interesting if you are using a basic tool like Edmodo or Schoology, because those tools don't have so many different kind of activity types. And that's why perhaps if you're working with Edmodo, yes, you might link to a Padlet, or you might create some Google Forms, or you might use Google Docs, or you might use something from Microsoft. So you need often to learn additional tools to augment what you can do in Edmodo, whereas in Moodle you don't need to do that. However, the biggest mistake that all teachers make, and I see this all the time, is that they don't even learn all of the facilities, all the basic tools that are available in Edmodo. In other words, they don't hardly know the tool at all, and therefore they're not really getting a lot out of using Edmodo. So my advice to you is, if you're going to work with Edmodo, is learn Edmodo really well, because there are many things you can do in Edmodo. And if you can be a bit creative, you can do actually a lot of things without having to add additional tools. So Moodle is an all-in-one solution. Edmodo only provides some basic tools, quizzes, assignments, groups, etc. They can be used in a very creative way, but it's often when you're working with a tool like Edmodo that you will begin to use additional tools. Now I'm going to try and summarize what I've spoke about and try to really help you to make this clear to you, to think about some of the questions. If we think about teaching and learning in a really rudimentary way, we've kind of got two parts. We've got a teaching part, a kind of live part where the teacher's standing up and explaining things. I know there are other ways of doing that, but let's just keep it really simple. There's a teaching part. That teaching part can really be done two ways, either live using something like Skype, or using a paid tool like ClickMeeting, like Zoom, like Adobe Connect, and there are many others. Or we could record the session, and if we wanted to record it, we could use something like Screencast-O-Matic or something like Snagit or Camtasia. Or if it's a really long session, then we might need to use a more sophisticated tool like Echo 360 or Relay, etc. Now, just my advice is that generally I don't think that long sessions are that useful, so I never record long sessions. I'm always doing short snippets of learning input if I'm recording a PowerPoint presentation, etc. Or often I'm doing my input sessions by doing them live. So that's the live component, which could either be recorded, so in a way it's not even live, is it, because it's a recording, but at least it's the teaching component, or it could be presented live. My feeling is that these days, if you're more than just doing a private lesson, if you've got quite a few students online, look at some of the paid tools. They do save you a lot of time. They do loads of things. They automate the sign up. They automate recording the presentation. They allow you to make use of loads of different technologies, like having an interactive whiteboard, being able to play video, being able to present questions on the screen, etc. So for the live presentation, I moved away from using Skype, and these days I'm using ClickMeeting. In the past I've used Adobe Connect. Another good tool that people mention to me, which I have worked with a few times, is Zoom. Okay, hopefully that's made that clear. So now we come over to the other part. This is where we activate the students' learning. This is normally where the students are getting involved in discussions and quizzes, and maybe they're doing a wiki together, or maybe they're on a chat room, or maybe they're in a forum. And the big tools that we often see at universities and institutions are things like Moodle, Blackboard, and another one that's becoming quite popular is Canvas. Those tools offer a lot of technologies within them. So when you look at Moodle or Blackboard or Canvas, you have a forum, you have a chat room, you have the opportunity of doing wikis, of setting up quizzes, surveys, etc. Most of those tools are administered by a central administration. So it would be a university that would make a decision on running Moodle or Blackboard or Canvas. If the teacher wants to have control, then technologies like Edmodo and Schoology can work, because you create your own class, give the code to the students, and the students log into your class. There's no need for a central administration. Tools like Edmodo and Schoology obviously do not have as many affordances, as many additional components as things like Moodle, Blackboard and Canvas, but they do a pretty good job. And actually, if you're creative with things like Edmodo and Schoology, you can deliver a pretty good online course without really needing to use hundreds and hundreds of tools. If you do need to use additional tools, then you might start to think about looking at things like connecting Edmodo or Schoology to Padlet, or making use of things like Google Docs and Google Forms and Google Slides. But you don't need to do that. That really is the best I can do in trying to breaking it down. So when I'm doing my training, I'm trying to make teachers aware of these kind of issues, because they're going to help people to make informed decisions about what is the best technology for them and what's going to fit. So obviously it really does depend on whether you're teaching large classes, or whether you're part of a big organisation, or whether you're just doing private lessons, and those are the ways that you're going to make your choices.